Universalist Society of Middleboro. We are delighted that you are here with us. If you are online, we hope that you will enjoy being with us and maybe come in person another time. Valerie is going to give us the sermon this morning, the connection between our physical and spiritual selves and our spiritual and physical selves.
We think.
So we look forward to that. I am going to pass the basket because we didn't do it the last 2 weeks. So it's going to the food pantry at Sacred Heart in Middleboro. And Jeffrey is now going to light our chalice.
We are going to sing 2 hymns. We're going to start with, when we get the cue from Susan, with Come, Come, Whoever You Are. And we're going to finish with 'Tis a Gift to Be Simple. So the first one is page 188. The second one is page, I put a marker, 16.
Spirit of love, I bring light to life, Dallas.
What page is it?
Number 188, I believe,
Yes.
is come wherever you are, whoever you are, and we don't need your books. We're going to start with a little bass ostinato in the back, and then we're going to sing it through. And if you sound really good, we're going to sing it through again in a round. But you have to sound really, really good. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've
Broken your vows 1,000 times. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Come, yet again, come. Though I've broken my vows 1,000 times, come, yet again, come. Sometime in the spring, Natalie Johnson called, asking me to do a summer service. I politely declined, saying I have an awful time getting anywhere for 9 o'clock in the morning. She laughed and then proceeded to cajole me, layering on multiple compliments about what an interesting person I was and had lived such an interesting life. Surely I had something to share. With that, I acquiesced.
That works.
The moment, without a moment of hesitation, she immediately asked what my topic would be. Surprised and having never given this any thought at all, I spouted out, physicality and spirituality. Natalie, of course, wanted to know what that meant. I had no idea. Eventually, I was able to make the brief statement you saw in our summer newsletter. Physically, spiritually, that is correct written. These 2 ways of knowing have been of importance, of concern to me, since early childhood. I will share with you some of the times and some of the ways I have floundered around with what seems to be a conundrum. I have thought about this half hour, this presentation, all summer. It is indeed a tall order. The best I can do really amounts to a bit of an autobiographical review of my spiritual journey so far. Recently, I read a novel, Jimmy Bluefeather. Toward the very end, the old man, nearing his own death, remembers the teachings of his ancestors. We are not we are not human beings on a spiritual journey. We are, whoa, I miscorrected. Oh, that needs a typing correction. We are not human beings on a spiritual journey. We are, wow, that's a typing error. Let me get this back in error. We are not human beings on a spiritual journey. We are born into our lives for one reason only. We are not to seek the road that makes death a fulfillment. I am not concerned with death or any form of afterlife, but rather I understand that statement to mean we are born to make this physical life a spiritual fulfillment. Page is out of order. I thought I had this all together. Oh. Okay. In childhood and adolescence, I was a physically active person. I thoroughly enjoying and reveling in it. For the first 6 grades, I was enrolled in a Roman Catholic school. Everything was very tight, strict, and absolute. Sit still, don't move, be silent. Sunday was the same. We all sat in tight, crowded rows arranged by height. The only movements permitted were those of genuflect, sit, stand, kneel, as the pageantry required. No extraneous movement or speaking. We could and were expected to make the appropriate verbal responses. Managed, and I learned that the body, so capable and full of joy, was to be harnessed, managed, and kept in line. Sadly, that message created a still living, internalized conflict between body and soul. Along with all the bodily restrictions came the Baltimore Catechism. What I remember most are the first few questions, complete with answers. They established the concept of God and a relationship to Him. He'd made me, and I was to know, love, and serve. The to know Him was thrilling and exciting. It became a desire, a wish, a hope, which has continued through my life. But how to do that? Little did I know that knowing God was the realm of the mystics, those who, in our UU traditions, have had a direct experience of that transcendent mystery and wonder confirmed in all cultures. Early on, I was taught about saints, martyrs, and mystics, those who knew God. One day, totally excited, I announced loudly, "I want to be a mystic." The poor nun gasped. "Oh dear, don't pray for that. They suffer so much." My response was direct and simple, not the kind with all the holes and sores in the hands and feet, just a plain one. I didn't want to be a martyr either. I wanted to know God and keep my body intact. One of the early lessons included to serve. At 11, I had my first encounter with the question of how to serve. At the end of summer camp, I received the Babe Dickinson Award as the best all-around female athlete. My parents were thrilled. Not knowing who Babe Dickinson was, I was more or less pleased, and I wondered, what does this do for anyone? How is this to serve? The only guidance we received was to fulfill our Catholic obligation, partake in the sacraments, observe holy days, some very limited fasting, and avoid the occasions of sin. Yes, we learned about Jesus' miracles in the Sermon on the Mount. The sermon, in particular, did create a base for me. Unfortunately, there was never any guidance on how to grow a personal relationship with the divine. Not in the first 6 years in Catholic school, not in 4 years of Catholic high school, and not in 4 months in a convent. When I came home at 17, I was at a total loss, just empty, no direction to go in life, no hope for what I had been wanting. Just fulfilling my Catholic obligations left me empty. At 19, I began college, and with the absence of any direction in life, my formal religion, like many others, went off with the breezes. At 21, I came to know my sexual and emotional preferences. With that, I knew there was no place for me in the church. Though I had not been a practicing Catholic for at least 3 years, it was still a major emotional loss, a thorough rejection. Shortly after, I began to abuse alcohol. For 15 years, I didn't care about body or soul. That body which had brought so much pleasure and joy, and in which I had wanted to be a simple mystic. At 36, I met Janet. She had a requirement: total sobriety, attain and maintain. And I thank you, Janet. The AA concept of a higher power, as I understood it to be, began to reopen my spiritual dreams, and the word sin was never spoken. Yes, we had made errors in life, some serious, but just mistakes. No sin. This is an amazing, great freedom. 4 years later, our local Y opened its new location. Public invitations went out to all men, women, and children to come and use the gym, to come and engage in weightlifting. Well, Jan and I went for weight training. This shortly led to trying to run. The best overall female athlete was long gone. What with being dead last in every road race I entered, and then getting goosebumps while watching the woman who struggled so hard and succeeded in finishing the very first Hawaii triathlon, I decided triathlon was for me. I knew how to swim and I knew how to bike. Maybe I could do them well enough that I wouldn't be the last after the run. It worked, except for the endurance triathlon on Cape Cod. That was a full-length 140-mile event, the same length as the big one in Hawaii. Due to bad water at the bike turnaround, I became dehydrated and stopped to rehydrate myself halfway through the marathon. I was definitely last and finished only 15 minutes before time ran out. However, because I was the only entrant in my age group, female 45 through 49, I had earned a place in the big, exciting International Hawaii Ironman Triathlon in Kona, Hawaii the following year. Life was perfect. But I get ahead of myself. That sport requires a lot of training and planning. It cannot just happen. And there is time to think when training, and sometimes when competing. Once, while bicycling during the Hampton Beach Triathlon, I saw 2 middle-aged women watching and cheering. They were looking at me, maybe amazed. And I wondered, how is this service? How does it benefit anyone else? And there were times while swimming long, unencumbered distances with the smooth steadiness of uninterrupted stroking and breathing, I experienced something of a transcendent nature. In Hawaii, this occurred on the bike portion, during the first 50 miles of steady, uninterrupted pedaling at a rapid and steady rate. At one point, via a professional symposium, I became aware of mindfulness meditation. I began to use it both personally and professionally. A holistic counselor I knew suggested I try mindfulness during my training. The safest one seemed to be while running, so I gave it a shot. Coming home, I wrote the following. Look at it. Bright, clear, damp, cloud scudding, uncommon winter's day. Run, jog, find a way. Thoughts, feelings, questions arise, separate from body, clouding the eyes. What is it? What is it? What did she say? Oh, yes. Witness. Witness what? Witness today. Look. Just look at it. Moving to the rhythm. Oh, look at it. As mantra, music, knowledge deep within finds a font for release and sings itself as though a hymn. Oh, look at it. Oh, yay, rah, look at it. Moving in chanting rhythm, looking as I sing. Words join motion and 10 miles of seeing begins. Oh, just look at it. It. Sky, sun, moon, stars, trees, bird, hand, glove. Look directly at. Look with eyes fully open. Look with head held high. Look, see it. Allowing seeing to become the experience, entering into joyous knowledge, contained in expanding outward waves within my being. look at it. Knowing beginning. The knowing which allows the full-faced, upright, open-eyed, clear, full look at self, at an experience of self, at a memory of self, at a defined fragment of self. Beginning to know that I am joy, that I am life, that I am being. Knowing beginning, this amness is wondrous to be and to behold. The want, well, boy, I'm out of line. And I may be out of the whole thing. I am. Thank you. Yes. As life progressed, I participated in a week-long, absolute silent meditation retreat. At that retreat in 1989, when I was either 48 or 49, something clicked. Once again, there was the sense of an experience not known before, and which needed to be noted and written down. Last night I watched the universe fly, God sharing his thoughts with my inner eye, in sitting witness, see and not look, indigo streams fanning forth with planets whirling from out my head, and all creation of light and blue. And sitting witness, feel and not touch, indigo creation flowing forth from out my head. Last night, I watched the universe fly. The want, the desire loomed large. I went to the bookstore. There I saw the book, Love Never Faileth. Though I could only see the cover and had no real idea of its contents, I deeply wanted it. It did not have the imprimatur of the Roman Catholic Church. It was extremely difficult for me to break through the directive that only materials with the imprimatur could be read. It took everything I had to pick up that book and to carry it to the register. It was both emotionally and physically difficult. The author was Eknath Easwaran, who wrote of Catholic mystics and saints in a manner I had not previously known. There was no doubt in my mind. I thought he might be my spiritual teacher. He could give the direction I needed. While quite afraid of being involved with a cult, I subscribed to the mailing list of the Blue Mountain Center of Meditation. Some years later, I dared to attend a weekend retreat in Andover. They spoke of, taught from, saints and mystics of many traditions, and of a way to grow spiritually. They shared and began to explain the 8 points as developed by Eknath Easwaran. He taught that if anyone engaged in them regularly and conscientiously, there is a possibility of attaining the knowing I wanted. And if that knowing did not occur, the practitioner would certainly be a much fuller and better person. It was truly an ecumenical approach with a place for all beliefs and traditions, and you could do this while living an ordinary life. These points are meditation, daily, 30 minutes every day, utilizing sacred passages from all the different religions. Mantram, a constant repetition of a sacred word or a brief phrase that will lead to living in the presence of God or your higher power or your greater self. A 10th century Sufic mystic described that experience as, in the market, in the cloister, only God I saw. In the valley and on the mountain, only God I saw. Him I have seen beside me, oft in tribulation, in favor and in fortune, only God I saw. The next point was slowing down, which takes time to be present. Do not speed. Training your senses, a very difficult one. Moderation in what you hear, see, eat. Do eliminate violent excitement. Put others first. Be focused solely on the other. Listen with full attention. Engage in spiritual fellowship. Associate often with people of like spiritual desires and drives. Read the mystics. Truly read those of great spiritual status, what they have said and experienced. Do I succeed at this? Sometimes in part. All the time? Absolutely not. I do appreciate the Jewish concept of missing the mark. This presentation has been bracketed with the two little hymns that teach us what to do when we miss the mark. Come yet again, do not despair. And then turn, turn, till you turn round right, which we will now sing.
In your hymnal, it's number 16. And you probably don't need a hymnal, but if you've got one and want to use it, go ahead. We're going to sing this year twice.
You got any more hymnals? Oh, thank you.
'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn, turn will be a delight, till by turning, turning we come round right. It's a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to be bound where we ought to be. And when we toss ourselves in the first right, will be a valley of love and delight. To man will felicity is grand, to bow and to bend we will be ashamed. To turn and be a delight, till by turning, turning we turn down right. Thank you. No more.
I can never, can I?
No more.